This month we're going to work on a solo arrangement of Desperado by the Eagles. This arrangement's tuned for high G, but you can find the tab for high G as well as a low G variation of it over on my Patreon site. The link will be in the description below, and there you'll find lots of other lesson videos that we've done just like this, and the tablature available for all of it. So be sure and check that out if you haven't already. But let's go ahead and dive into Desperado. So the way that we're going to start this is with the very famous intro that it has. So to begin here, we're going to play index finger barred across the second fret of the C, E, and A strings, and add our middle finger to the third fret of the E string, so that we're pressing down equally across those three with the index and the middle here on 3 of the E, so that we're getting essentially a G chord instead of how we usually play it with 3 fingers, only using 2 to maximize some efficiency here. So we're going to strum through that. And with this song, we're mostly going to just use our thumb going through the strings to get a nice warm sound as we're going through it. The very next thing we're going to do is take our pinky, play 5 on the A. We're going to take back off the pinky, leaving these fingers where they are during that. Now we're going to take this index finger and we're going to slide that bar up to fret 5, and then we're going to add our ring finger here on 7 of the E and the A. And this is a really tricky chord. The index finger really only needs to press on the 5 of the C. So as you're moving that bar, if you release some of the pressure on the E and the A strings, it's okay. As long as that 5 is played, it's really what's important right now, although it is preferred to do the full bar. And then the ring finger there is going to be on 7 of the E and the A strings, doing a bar across them. Take some flexibility and get the fingers to do this. But we'll play through that. And then we're going to take off the ring finger and play 5 on the A, which should be there within that bar of the index finger. And we're going to take our ring finger, place it back on just the 7 of the E. Then we're going to play the open G. Now that little transition is really tough. It works the hand a lot. And to be honest, it's one of the hardest parts of the whole song, which is kind of cool. We get it out of the way early, right? There are some other ways that you can finger that section, where you can use like your ring and pinky fingers instead of the bar with just the ring. I do prefer the method that I showed you there though, and I think it's a good idea to work at, because if you're able to get it, it's going to sound really good. So that whole first measure sounds something like this. Now going right into the next measure, much easier than that first one. We're going to play all open, stopping at the A string. We're going to take our ring finger, add it on the 3rd fret of the E string, play the open E, and then we're going to take our middle finger, place it on 3 of the C, and return our ring finger to 3 on the E, strum through all 4. Then we're going to play just the 3 on the E, and then just the open G. And as we play that open G, we're actually going to take our hand off to set up the next section, right? So that measure looks something like. Okay. Now we're in measure 3. We're going to play our G chord in that new way again. Bar across 2 on the C, E, and A. Add the middle finger on 3 of the E. Add the pinky on 5 of the A. Go back down to 2 on the A. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go up to this different E minor chord. We're going to take off the middle finger. We're going to move the index finger to just be on the C string, so take the bar off, slide it up 2 frets to the 4th fret. So it's only playing that 4th fret on the C string. And our pinky is going to go on to 7 of the A, and we're going to strum through all 4. So we have 0, 4, 0, 7. Then we're going to take off our pinky, add our middle finger on 5 of the A, play just that. Then we're going to take our pinky, move it up to 7 on the E, and play just that. So that looks like. So that whole measure is. Now you'll notice with throughout this, there are rhythmic indications in terms of how this should be played listed on the tab. You'll notice I won't follow them very often, mainly because I like playing the song with a sense of what we call rubato, which is sort of musical freedom, playing with feeling. For more information on rubato, be sure and check out the link below on a webcam session episode I did that talks about rubato and some of the techniques that go with it, which are being used in this video. But I think that it's a song that really sounds best when it's played very lyrically, very, not so much with the metronome, but more with the heart or something like that. So let's go ahead and look now at the next measure here. We're going to start with an A7 chord, but we're going to add something to it. So put your index finger on 1 of the C string, add our middle finger here on 2 of the A string. We're going to play through all 4. Open A string, so take off that middle finger. Open G. And then we're going to play a D7 chord, or what's often referred to as the Hawaiian D7. So we'll take our index, place it here on 2 of the G, and our middle here on 2 of the E, making sure that the other strings are open, and we're going to strum through that. And now we're going to play 2 on the A. Now there's 2 things that we can do here. One is we can leave our fingers here in position so that they can keep ringing, and just add the ring finger here on 2 of the A. The other option is take our fingers off and add our middle finger here on 2 of the A. They both have positives and negatives. The positive of the first one is you get that continued resonance. But the positive of the second one is you stop the resonance, so it kind of starts that next section. So truly opinion for which one works. I think I like to stop the sound and then play the 2 with my middle finger, then open. So all of measure 4 sounds like this. Now we're getting into the main melody of the song, and so the 2 and 0 are going to sort of be the pickup for the vocal part. So we're done with that sort of intro, and now we're going into what's sang with the song. So to start here on measure 5, we're going to play through a G chord, but how we usually play a G chord, we've been playing one like this throughout the song, but we're going to play a typical G chord. So index finger on 2 of the C, ring finger here on 3 of the E, and the middle finger normally goes on 2 of the A. But what you'll notice here is it should be a 0 on the A. So we're going to just take off that finger. So we just have index and ring fingers used. Strum through all 4 strings, followed by just the E string. Then we're going to switch to a G7 chord. And this is kind of tricky because we have to flip our fingers. Middle finger on 2 of the C, index on 1 of the E, and ring finger here on 2 of the A. Go ahead and strum through that. Then we're going to play the 2 on the A again. And we're going to take that finger off, play open A. Then we're going to take this ring finger, add it on 3 of the E string, and play just that. So that whole measure sounds something like this. Next measure here, we're going to play all open, stopping at the A string. 3 on the E with the ring finger. Open E. Add back that ring finger on 3 as well as the middle finger on 3 of the C string. Play all the way through all 4. Play the 3 on the E again. Then we're going to play the 3 on the E yet again. And then we're going to play the open G. Now when we play that open G, we want to take our hand off. You'll notice that the 3 on the E and the open G are the same note. We're doing this to set up our next measure. So just taking the hand off on that 0 G helps set that up. But measure 6 sounds like. Going right into measure 7, we're going to go to a familiar chord. We're going to go to our G using our bar. So index finger across C, E, and A, 2nd fret. Middle finger here on 3 of the E. Strum through all 4. Add the pinky on 5 of the A. And then take it off. Play the 2 on the A. Go to that same E minor that we played earlier, where we slide that index finger up to 4 on the C. Add the pinky here on 7 of the A. Strum through all 4. Take off the pinky, add the middle on 5 of the A. So measure 7 so far is. Now, the end of measure 7 going into the beginning of measure 8, it's going to play the index finger on fret 2 of the C string. And then we're going to slide that finger down 1 to 1 on the C string and add our middle finger here on 2 of the A. Then we're going to play the open A, taking off that middle finger. Then we're going to play that Hawaiian D7 again, index and middle fingers on 2 of the G and the E strings. So the end of 7 into the beginning of 8 is. Now, the end of 8 going through measure 9 is going to use this really fast little triplet section. And I like to use a pull-off to facilitate this. So I'm going to start by placing my middle finger here on 2 of the A. I'm going to pull it off to the open A. And whenever you're doing a pull-off, you want to make sure you're actually physically pulling the string off with the finger, sort of like you're plucking it, only with your fretting hand. For more information on pull-offs, be sure and check out the link below where another webcam sessions episode will actually cover embellishment techniques like slides, hammer-ons, pull-offs, all that stuff. So if you want extra work on it, be sure and check that out below. It's totally free. All the webcam sessions are posted with Ukulele Underground, and a new one comes out every week. But enough about that. We're going to do the pull-off there, then we're going to play the open G. And then we're going to go back to that familiar G chord, where we do the bar across with the middle finger here. Then we play 5 on the A with the pinky. And then from this point, we're going to essentially kind of slide some fingers in position. We're going to slide our index finger down to 1 on the E, just 1 on the E, so no longer a bar. We're going to slide our middle finger over to 2 on the C, and we're going to play our ring finger here on 3 of the A. So we have 0, 2, 1, 3. We're going to strum through all 4 strings. Then we're going to pivot down that ring finger to 2 on the A, which makes a G7 chord. So then we're going to play the open A and the open G. So the end of measure 8 into measure 9 sounds like this. Now we're into measure 10, and we're going to do some more of that kind of hammer-on, pull-off type of stuff. We're going to play all open except for the A string. We're going to hammer on to 3 on the E. Then we're going to immediately pull off to open E. And then we're going to play the open A string. So that's really tricky. There's a lot moving there. But what we're doing again is we're playing through the 3 open strings G, C, E. We're going to hammer on to 3 on the E string. We're then going to pull off to open on the E. Then we're going to play the open A. All right, so one more time there. It looks like. And then we're going to immediately reapply the 3 on the E and play that, followed by the middle finger stacking up to the C string 3rd fret, strum all the way through. Then the open G. So all of measure 10 sounds like. Now, from this point, we're going to go on to measure 11, where it's going to start with the familiar G chord that we've been using that bar, up to 5 on the A. But this is where it gets a little bit different. It's going to play this sort of B7 chord. And the way we're going to do this is take off our pinky, move our middle finger up to 3 on the C, while still keeping that bar all the way across with the index finger. So we're not playing the G string. We don't want to touch it at all. We're just going to play 3 on the C, 2 on the E, and 2 on the A, using our thumb. So it goes. And then from here, we're going to slide up to that E minor chord, index finger on 4 of the C, open on the E, 7 on the A with the pinky. We're also going to play the open G, go through all 4 strings. Then we're going to play 5 on the A with the middle finger, and 7 on the E with the pinky. So measure 11 to start is. Now the end of measure 11 going into measure 12 is going to be 0 on the G, 2 on the C with our index finger. Then we're going to slide down to 1 to start at measure 12, play through that A7 chord, all 4. Add the middle finger on 2 of the A, then play that same Hawaiian D7. That's going to use these 2 fingers, the index and middle, on 2 of the G, 2 of the E. Open the G string, play that all by itself. So end of measure 11 through measure 12. Now measure 13, which sort of wraps up this first section, we're going to play through a G chord. And it doesn't matter in this particular G chord if we play it like this or like this, right? We can play G chord either way because there's nothing that comes after it. So I like playing it this way just to give extra practice because the G's played so much throughout the song with this one. So I like to reinforce it there. And then we're going to play a D7, the Hawaiian D7. We're going to play open G twice. So measure 13 is. Now it's important as you play that open G twice that you actually take your hand off the ukulele and start moving it upward. And the reason is the very next section. So we're now at measure 14, and this part of the song is where it really goes up the fretboard. And you might be getting a little bit overwhelmed at this point if you're just watching this video as one straight watch, right? The trick with these sort of things is to pause and work on these measures, section at a time. Just focus on what's shown on the screen, and then when you're getting comfortable with that, move on to the next one. It's okay to play, pause, rewind, play, pause, rewind. In fact, it's encouraged for when you're learning this sort of thing. So don't just watch the video all the way through and try to play it all the way through and expect it to work very well, just because it's a lot of information, a lot of particular fingerings and everything else. So as we go now into measure 14, we're going way up the fretboard. We're going to be using open strings combined with numbers that are 10 and above to create a really cool wide sound. So we just left off playing the 2 open on the G. Now we're going to play 0, 11, 0, 10, and this is an E minor chord. The way we're going to play this is with our ring finger here on the 11th fret of the C string and our ring finger here on the 10th fret of the A string. Now, you might wonder, why are we using these 2 interior fingers? And the truth is, this particular part, measure 14, it doesn't matter as much, but it will later in the song. So we want to kind of develop a good habit here to start. So we're going to strum through all 4 strings, and then we're going to keep playing the A string 3 more times after that. So total of 4 playthroughs, the first one being all 4, and 3 more on the A string. Now this next chord is sort of tricky. We need to stretch our index finger to 6 on the C string, middle finger goes on 7 of the E string, and our pinky goes on 9 of the A. We're not going to play the G string, really important not play it, won't sound good with this chord. Just going to play the C, E, and A strings. Then we're immediately going to take this middle finger and put it on 7 of the A. Now the unfortunate thing is we sort of have to have the chord stop ringing, but that's okay. It happens very quickly. And even though it is not ideal for the chord to stop ringing, it's sort of a necessity within this arrangement. Now from here, we're going to play 5 on the A twice. We're going to stretch our index finger down to that 5. So all of measure 14 sounds like this. Now starting measure 15, we're going to add our ring finger on 7 of the A, leaving the other 3 strings open, strum through all 4 for a C chord. And now we're just going to go back and forth between 5 and 7 a couple times. So it plays all the way through, then just 5 on the A, and just 7 on the A, just 5 on the A. Now the trick with this is if we keep using our index finger every time on the 5 on the A, you'll notice the next chord that's played needs to be all the way down here. We need to play 0, 2, 3, 5 with our pinky finger here at 5. So what can really help with this is the first time that we play the 7, we go down to the index finger here on 5, and then the next time we do it, we can use our pinky on 7, and then we slide our pinky down to 5. Now that's really awkward at first, but it helps sets us up so much. So the start of 15 is going to be ring finger on 7, index on 5, back to 7 with our pinky finger, and then slide the pinky finger back down to 5. So we have, and then we play through 0, 2, 3, 5, which is that same G chord barred with the pinky added on 5 of the A. And then we're going to play 2 on the A, which would be right in there in that bar. Then we're actually going to take off the middle finger, play 2 barred across with open G, and 2 on the C. So measure 15 is a doozy, and looks something like this when played. But you'll notice that that little switch that I made really maximizes the efficiency of it moving forward. And sometimes something will be much more difficult than it seems like it should be at first, because it makes a transition much easier later. And oftentimes it's sort of averaging the two, you know? It might be this transition's really easy, but the next one becomes impossible because of it. So it might make it easier to have 2 somewhat difficult transitions, but then it becomes playable. It's one of those things that we constantly fight the battle of when we're doing arrangements and working on things, is what's the best form of efficiency to be able to play the song proficiently, right? So that's a great example of it. But it's really fun to play when you get it, so cool. So now as we look to the next part, we're going to be going to measure 16. And this is the only time in the song you'll see an upstrum played. So you'll notice the arrow is pointing towards the G string, so we're going to upstrum that. I like to upstrum with my thumbnail coming up. Creates kind of like a pick sound. So that chord that's being played is a E minor 7. We'll place the index finger on 2 of the C, and we'll place our middle finger here on 2 of the A. Come up, and open G. And open A, or excuse me, 2 on the A, holding that note, open G, then take the fingers off, play all open, open G, open E, open G. So that measure is not so bad. Now as we go into measure 17, we're going to play a G chord again, and we can play it our traditional way or the way that we've been playing it throughout the song, followed by a D7, the Hawaiian D7, just like we've done earlier. We're going to then play the open G string twice. And you'll notice that we've got the whole next section written, and it's because it's very similar to what we played before. We're going to go back up to that E minor using our middle and ring fingers here. But this time we're really going to learn why I told you to play with these fingers, and that is because after we play the 10 on the A again, we gotta use our pinky to play 12 on the A. And the goal ultimately is to keep those fingers in position so that we can get that constant ringing. So 10, 10, 12, 12. We're gonna slide that pinky down to fret 9, add 6 on the C with the index and 7 on the E with the middle, just like we played this chord before. Then we're going to play 7 on the A. Here's a bit of a jump. Take our index finger, go all the way down to 2 on the A. So we have, and then we're going to place our pinky on 5 of the A. So that whole big section sounds something like this. Now we go into measure 19. We're going to just take that pinky, slide it up to 7 on the A. We're going to strum through the whole thing. And then we're going to play 7 on the A again. Now this is a great pinky exercise. We're going to move the pinky up to 9 and then pinky all the way up to 10. So then slide the pinky all the way back down to 5 for that same G chord that we've been playing throughout the song. Leaving the pinky here on 5, index on 2, barred across, middle finger here on 3 of the E, open G. So, a lot of pinky work. Oftentimes the pinky is the weakest finger, so giving it a little bit extra practice can really help, right? And might be easier at times to use the ring finger, but I really suggest doing the pinky just because, just from an exercise standpoint, it's like eating your kale of the ukulele world, right? So get that pinky involved. And if you love kale, then I apologize, but I'm not crazy about it. Broccoli, on the other hand, that's good, but I digress. So now, after we played this giant pinky exercise, the end of 19 going into measure 20, we're going to play 2 on the C, then take our middle finger, play 3 on the C, and then we're going to move our ring finger to play 4 on the C, but we're not going to play that one. We only play the 2 and the 3. Then we set it on 4 and build an E minor chord 0, 4, 3, 2. Now from here, we're going to play the 2 on the A again. And this is a doozy right here. So after we played that, move our pinky up to 7 on the A. When we do this, you'll notice the rest of my hand comes off the instrument. That's so that I can take my ring finger, place it on 7 of the E. So. Now we're stuck up here, and you'll notice the very next chord is 1s, 0s, and 3s. Well, what happens is we're going to take off the pinky, we're going to slide our ring finger down to 3 on the E string, and we're going to add 1 on the C string with our index finger. So that was the slide down on the E string, adding 1 on the C string. We're going to play the G, C, and E strings now, and then open the E. So we have, just so far, and now at this point, we're going to do another little pull-off section. We're going to play 2 on the A, pull off to open on the A, play the open G, play the open A, again. So we have, and now measure 21, nice and simple, all open, and then just bar all the way across 2, and then we're going to play the open A. And at measure 21, you'll notice there are now some repeat markers listed. So if you want this song to be longer, you can essentially repeat all the way back to the point where you will see the repeat markers bounce, which will be right there at measure 5 if you're looking at the tab. And so this is a great way to make the song a little bit longer. You can add a little bit more flavor on one run through versus the other, maybe speed it up a little bit on the second run through, whatever you'd like to do. At the very beginning though, when I played this, I only did 1 repeat, so I didn't actually take that repeat, but it's there if you want it. So from this point, we're going now through the end of the song, last 8 or so measures, or excuse me, 12 measures, 13 measures, something like that. So we're going to start now looking at measure 22. And measure 22 is going to be a lot like measure 5, but it's a little bit different. We're going to start with that same kind of G chord without the middle finger here on the A string. Play the 3 on the E. And then we're going to go to a G7 chord, but we're going to do the same thing where we keep that A string off, just like we did with our G. So that's our middle finger here on 2, index finger here at 1. Strum through. And then we're going to play 2 on the A, adding that ring finger back on. Open A. 3 on the E, just adding that ring finger right there. So we have 23 is going to be a C chord, but we don't play the 3 on the A. We're going to play all open. Open E, open G, open E. Then we're going to add those 2 fingers there, just like we've done many times throughout the song. So, and then we're going to play the 3 on the E 2 more times after that. So measure 23 is. Now here on measure 24, one of my favorite measures of the song, just because there's so much movement with the chords. We're going to do the same bar with our index finger for a G chord across the C, E, and A. Play 5 on the A. Then what we're going to do is take these 2 fingers off, leaving the pinky where it is, and bar all the way across 2 to play a D chord. So 2, 2, 2, 5. So then we're going to play the A string again. Then we're going to play an E minor chord. And that's deceptively difficult. There's a lot of movement between a D chord and an E minor. One thing that can help is looking at that index finger going down to the 2 on the A and then building it from there. Then we're going to play our open A, open G. So that whole measure is. Now we go into measure 25. We're going to play 0, 1, 0, 2 with our index finger here on 1 of the C and our middle finger here on 2 of the A. Open A twice, followed by that Hawaiian D7 again. And then we're going to do a little pull-off section. We're going to play 2 on the A, pull off to open the A, play open G. So measure 25 is. Now measure 26 is going to be exactly the same as measure 22 was. Except we're going to play the 5 on the A instead of the 3 on the E. We're going to play a G chord at the start, right? So it's very similar. Well, the first one was going kind of fun. And then we're going to go to the G7, just like we did before. So measure 26 is. Measure 27 now, we're going to play open on the G, C, and E strings. We're going to play 3 on the E. We're going to do a pull off to the open, and then we're going to play open A. Then we're going to play the 0, 3, 3 that we've played many times, but this time we're not going through all 4 strings. We're going to stop at the E string. So now, I think this is my favorite little melody line in the whole thing. We're going to do some little minor elements here with a flat 7. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to play that B flat note, which is a really cool sound off of the C. So we get a little bit of minor, it's a minor third in the key of G, because normally we've got a B natural in there. But anyways, we're going to play that, do a pull off, and then play an open G. So measure 27 sounds. Now we go into measure 28, and we're going to play that same G chord with the bar that we've done so many times. Now once we have this pinky here on 5, we're going to leave it. We're going to leave the bar, and we're going to move this middle finger up to 3 on the C string. Play the C, E, and A. This is where it's a B7 chord. Now when you hear this, it sounds rough. It sounds like it doesn't belong, right? That's a tone that sounds off. It's actually oftentimes called a Hendrix chord. We'll go into that another day. But if you hear it, it sounds really dissonant, and it's supposed to be because it's a passing chord and tone. So it should be, and we immediately play the 2 on the A after it, right? So we take off that pinky and go up to that E minor chord that we've played a few times. Index finger here on 4 of the C, pinky here on 7 of the A, then the 5 on the A. So far 28 is. Now going right into 29, you'll see it slides the middle finger down to 3 on the A for a C chord, slide it down again to build a G chord around it using our index finger here on 2 of the C, ring finger here on 3 of the E, and then take everything off for an A minor 7. So 28 into 29 sounds like. Now this part is pretty tricky. We're going to play 7 on the A with our pinky, and then slide it down to 5 on the A. Now we're going to pull off to 2 on the A, but we want to make sure that we introduce the bar across 2 prior to that pull off. So it's, because the immediate next part's that G chord again. And it's exactly the same part as measure 28 was to start. Only now we're going to go to an E minor chord. You'll notice there's going to be a fermata on the tab. Fermata looks something like this. That means we hold it for as long as we want. So I'm going to hold it about that long, and then I'll play 3 on the E. So measure 29, the second half of it going into measure 30 sounds like this. And measure 31, we're going to play 0, 2, 0, 0, index finger here on 2 of the C string. Play 2 on the A with the middle finger. And then play the open A. But you'll see the symbol here says TR with the squiggles. That means trill. And all that you're going to do here is you're going to play the open A, then you're going to hammer onto 2 on the A, pull off, hammer on, pull off, hammer on, pull off, as many times as you want. So it's something that rewards good practice because the more comfortable you get with hammer-ons and pull-offs, the easier it will become. And then from this point, we're going to go through the end section. We're going to play 0 on the E string and 2 on the C. We're going to go into measure 32 now, where we play something much like the beginning of the song. You'll notice this is all just like the very beginning of the song. So measure 32 into 33. And now to end it, we're going to play 3 on the E twice. Open A. Then we're going to play a G chord, however we want, using the old method or that new one. Let it ring for a while. And then as a special ending chord, we're going to do something called G add 9. I just love this chord. 0 on the G, 11 with the ring finger on the C string, middle finger here on 10 of the E, and strum all the way through. Really pretty sound. So that's it. That's the full arrangement of Desperado. And if you were able to get this far through this video, I am impressed. This was a really long one. It was a lot of fun to work on, but took a little bit more work than usual. But it's a really good song, a lot of fun to play. Each month we do a different song and we vote on the song over at my Patreon page. And so all members of that Patreon page get a vote to be able to help determine what the next song is going to be. This was actually a suggestion from one of the people there, and I oftentimes will take their suggestions, put them all in the pool, and we'll vote on it. So it's a lot of fun to figure out what we're going to play each month. And so if you haven't already, please do check out that Patreon page and consider joining. And be sure to check out the other tutorial videos that we've done, and I'll see you guys next month for another episode of this song tutorial series where we will work on whatever song you guys decide on. Thanks so much.